Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to another episode of Learn English with the American in Poland. And I do a lot of different topics on this channel. And one came to my attention, and I'm going to call this topic Poland's Love Affair with Donald Trump is over. And you're probably telling yourself right now, what are you talking about? Like our love affair? Did we ever have one? Because we don't think about him, right? Polish people don't think about Donald Trump, but you did. You did way back in 2017. And I have an article here that I'm going to read to you. It's a speech from Trump. And it was in reference to your Warsaw Uprising anniversary, which I believe was 80 years. 80-year anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising in World War II. And back July 6, 2017, Trump made a speech, and I will kindly read that speech to you. This is from NBC News, and here we go. Thank you very much. That's so nice. The United States has many great diplomats, but there is truly no better ambassador for our country than our beautiful First Lady, Melania. Thank you, Melania. That was very nice. We've come to your nation to deliver a very important message. America loves Poland, and America loves the Polish people. The Poles have not only greatly enriched this region, but Polish Americans have also greatly enriched the United States. And I was truly proud to have their support in the 2016 election. It is a profound honor to stand in this city by this monument to the Warsaw Uprising and to address the Polish nation that so many generations have dreamed of. A Poland that is safe, strong, and free. President Duda and your wonderful First Lady Agata have welcomed us with the tremendous warmth and kindness for which Poland is known around the world. Thank you. My sincere, and I mean sincerely, thank both of them. And to Prime Minister, I'm sorry the mispronunciation, Zedo, a very special thanks also. We were also pleased that former President Lech Walesa, I'm probably mispronouncing the last name, so przepraszam, so famously for leading the Solidarity movement, has joined us today also. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Speech goes on. On behalf of all Americans, let me also thank the entire Polish people for their generosity you have shown in welcoming our soldiers to your country. These soldiers are not only brave defenders of freedom, but also symbols of America's commitment to your security and your place in a strong and democratic Europe. Do you remember I talked about U.S. troop levels in my last video, Poland's role in World War III? Back to the speech. We are proudly joined on stage by American, Polish, British, and Romanian soldiers. Thank you, great job. President Duda and I have just come from an incredibly successful meeting with the leaders participating in the Three Seas initiative. To the citizens of this great nation, sorry, I lost my spot. To the citizens of this great nation, America is eager to expand our partnership with you. We welcome stronger ties of trade and commerce as you grow your economies. And we are committed to securing your success to alternative sources of energy, so Poland and its neighbors are never again held hostage to a single supplier of energy. Mr. President, I congratulate you, along with the President of Croatia, on your friendship of this historic Three Seas initiative. Thank you. This is my first visit to Central Europe as president, and I'm thrilled that it could be right here at this magnificent, beautiful piece of land. It is beautiful. Poland is the geographic heart of Europe, but more importantly, in the Polish people, we see the soul of Europe. Your nation is great because your spirit is great and your spirit is strong. For centuries, Poland suffered consistent and brutal attacks. But while Poland could be invaded and occupied, and its borders even erased from the map, it could never be erased from history or from our hearts. In those dark days, you have lost your land, but you never lost your pride. So, it is with true admiration that I can say today that from the farms and villages of your countryside to the cathedrals and squares of your great cities, Poland lives, Poland prospers, and Poland prevails. Despite every effort to transform you, oppress you, or destroy you, you endured and overcame. You are the proud nation of Copernicus. Think of that. Chopin, St. John Paul II. Poland is a land of great heroes, and you are a people. You know the true value of what you defend. The triumph of the Polish spirit over centuries of hardship gives us all hope for a future in which good conquers evil and peace achieves victory over war. Are you guys falling in love with this speech yet? I mean, it's very authentic. I'll keep going. For Americans, Poland has been a symbol of hope since the beginning of our nation. Polish heroes and American patriots fought side by side in our war of independence and in many wars that followed. Our soldiers still serve together today in Afghanistan and Iraq, combating the enemies of all civilization. For America's part, we have never given up on freedom and independence as the right and destiny of the Polish people. And we never, ever will. For 2 centuries, our 2 countries share a special bond forged by unique histories and national characters. It's a fellowship that exists only among people who have fought and bled and died for freedom. The signs of this friendship stand in our nation's capital, just steps from the White House. We've raised statues of men with names like, excuse me on the mispronunciation, Polski and Królewsko. That's probably bad, sorry. The same is true in Warsaw, where street signs carry the name of George Washington. And the monument stands to one of the world's greatest heroes, Ronald Reagan. As an American, I would dispute the Ronald Reagan part, but anyway. And so I am here today not just to visit an old ally, but to uphold it. But to uphold it. But to hold it up as an example for others who seek freedom and who wish to summon the courage and the will to defend our civilization. The story of Poland is the story of people who have never lost hope, who have never been broken, and who have never ever forgotten who they are. This is a nation more than 1,000 years old. Your borders were erased for more than a century and only restored just 1 century ago. In 1920, in the miracle of Vistula, Poland stopped the Soviet army bent on Russian conquest. Yeah, the Russians, right? Then, 19 years later, in 1939, you were invaded yet again, this time by Nazi Germany from the west and the Soviet Union, the Russians again, from the east. That's terrible. That's tough. Under a double occupation, the Polish people endured evils beyond description. The Cotton Forced massacre, the occupations, the Holocaust, the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, the destruction of this beautiful capital city, and the deaths of nearly 1 in 5 Polish people. A vibrant Jewish population, the largest in Europe, was reduced to almost nothing after the Nazis systematically murdered millions of Poland's Jewish citizens, along with countless others during that brutal occupation. In the summer of 1944, the Nazi and Soviet armies were preparing for a terrible and bloody battle right here in Warsaw. Amid that hell on earth, the citizens of Poland rose up to defend their homeland. I am deeply honored to be joined on stage today by veterans and heroes of the Warsaw Uprising. What great spirit. We salute your noble sacrifice, and we pledge to always remember your fight for freedom, your fight for Poland and for freedom. Thank you, thank you. This monument reminds us that more than 150,000 Poles died during that desperate struggle to overthrow oppression. From the other side of the river, the Soviet armed forces stopped and waited. They watched as the Nazis ruthlessly destroyed the city, viciously murdering men, women, and children. They tried to destroy this nation forever by shattering its will to survive. But there is a courage and strength deep in the Polish character that no one could destroy. The Polish martyr, Bishop Michael Kozel, said it well. More horrifying than a defeat of arms is a collapse of the human spirit. I hope you guys are still with me. This is long. Through 4 decades of communist rule, Poland and the other captive nations of Europe endured a brutal campaign to demolish freedom, your faith, your laws, your history, your identity. Indeed, the very essence of your culture and your humanity. Yet, through it all, you never lost your spirit. Your oppressors tried to break you, but Poland could not be broken. And when the day came on June 2nd, 1979, and 1 million Poles gathered around Victory Square for their very first Mass with their Polish Pope, that day every communist in Warsaw must have known that their oppressive system would soon come crashing down. They must have known it at the exact moment during Pope John Paul II's sermon when a million Polish women, million Polish men, women, and children suddenly raised their voices in a single prayer. A million Polish people did not ask for wealth. They did not ask for privilege. Instead, 1 million Poles sang 3 simple words: "We want God." In those words, the Polish people recalled the promise of a better future. They found new courage to face down their oppressors, and they found the words to declare that Poland would be Poland once again. As I stand here today before this incredible crowd, this faithful nation, we can still hear those voices that echo through history. Their message is as true today as ever. The people of Poland, the people of America, and the people of Europe still cry out, "We want God." Together with Pope John Paul II, the Poles reasserted their identity as a nation devoted to God. And with that powerful declaration of who you are, you came to understand what to do and how to live. You stood in solidarity against oppression, against a lawless secret police, against a cruel and wicked system that impoverished your cities and your souls, and you won. Poland prevailed. Poland will always prevail. You were supported in that victory over communism by a strong alliance of free nations in the West that defied tyranny. Now, among the most committed members of the NATO alliance, Poland has resumed its place as a leading nation of Europe that is strong, whole, and free. A strong Poland is a blessing to the nations of Europe, and they know that. A strong Europe is a blessing to the West and to the world. 100 years after the entry of American forces into World War I, the transatlantic bond between the United States and Europe is as strong as ever, and maybe in many ways even stronger. This commitment no longer confronts the specter of communism. But today we're in the West, and we have to say there are dire threats to our security and to our way of life. You see what's happening out there. There are threats. We will confront them. We will win. But they are threats. See, there's a lot of threats out there. He was saying there's a lot of threats in 2017. We are confronted by another oppressive ideology, one that seeks to export terrorism and extremism all around the globe. America and Europe have suffered one terror attack after another. We're going to get it to stop. During a historic gathering in Saudi Arabia, I called on the leaders of more than 50 Muslim nations to join together to drive out this menace which threatens all of humanity. We must stand united against these shared enemies to strip them of their territory and their funding and their networks and any form of ideological support that they may have. While we will always welcome new citizens who share our values and love our people, our borders will always be closed to terrorism and extremism of any kind. We are fighting hard against radical Islamic terrorism, and we will prevail. We cannot accept those who reject the values and who use hatred to justify violence against the innocent. Today, the West is also confronted by the powers that seek to test our will undermine our confidence and challenge our interests. To meet new forms of aggression, including propaganda, financial crimes, cyber warfare, we must adapt our alliance to compete effectively in new ways and on all new battlefields. We urge Russia to cease its destabilizing activities in Ukraine and elsewhere, and its support for hostile regimes, including Syria and Iran. So you remember that. He said back in 2017. This is July 2017. I wasn't in Poland yet, but he said this. Yeah, I first moved to Poland in 2018. So remember, he says, we urge Russia to cease its destabilizing activities in Ukraine and elsewhere. I'm assuming elsewhere he means Poland, right? Finally, on both sides of the Atlantic, our citizens are confronted by yet another danger, one firmly within our control. This danger is invisible to some, but familiar to the Poles. The steady creep of government bureaucracy that drains the vitality and wealth of the people. The West became great not because of paperwork and regulations, but because people were allowed to chase their dreams and pursue their destinies. I hope this is done soon, because this is exhausting. And it's a bunch of platitudes. Platitudes in English means you say things, but you say them just to say them. Yeah? You say them, but they don't mean nothing. Okay, so where was I at? Okay. Americans, Poles, and the nations of Europe value individual freedom and sovereignty. We must work together to confront forces, whether they come from inside or out, from the south or the east, that threaten over time to undermine these values and to erase the bonds of culture, faith, and tradition that make us who we are. If left unchecked, these forces will undermine our courage, sap our spirit, and weaken our will to defend ourselves and our societies. But just as our adversaries and enemies of the past learned here in Poland, we know that these forces too are doomed to fail if we want them to fail. And we do indeed want them to fail. They are doomed not only because our alliance is strong, but our countries are resilient and our power is unmatched. Through all of that, you have to say everything is true. Our adversaries, however, are doomed because we will never forget who we are. And if we don't forget who are, we just can't be beaten. Americans will never forget. The nations of Europe will never forget. We are the fastest and greatest community. There is nothing like our community of nations. The world has never known anything like our community of nations. We write sympathies, we pursue innovation, we celebrate our ancient heroes, embrace our timeless traditions and customs, and always seek to explore and discover brand new frontiers. We reward brilliance, we strive for excellence, and cherish inspiring works of art that honor God. We treasure the rule of law. Yeah, remember that too. It says, we treasure the rule of law. Remember that. Huh? And protect the right to free speech and free expression. We empower women as pillars of our society and of our success. We put faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, at the center of our lives. And we debate everything. We challenge everything. We seek to know everything so that we can better know ourselves. And above all, we value the dignity of human life, protect the rights of every person, and share the hope of every soul to live in freedom. That is who we are. Those are the priceless ties that bind us together as nations, as allies, as a civilization. That we have, that we inherited from and you know this better than anyone, than anybody, and you see it today with this incredible group of people that we've inherited from our ancestors has never existed to this extent before. And if we fail to preserve it, it will never ever exist again. So we cannot fail. Oh my God, what rubbish. This great community of nations has something else in common, and every one of them. It is the people, not the powerful, who have always formed the foundation of freedom and the cornerstone of our defense. The people have been that foundation here in Poland, as they were right here in Warsaw, and they were the foundation from the very, very beginning in America. Our citizens did not win freedom together, did not survive horrors together, did not face down evil together, only to lose our freedom to a lack of pride and confidence in our values. We did not, and we will not. We will never back down. As long as we know our history, we will know how to build our future. Americans know that a strong alliance of free, sovereign, independent nations is the best defense for our freedoms and for our interests. That is why my administration has demanded that all members of NATO finally meet their full and fair financial obligation. So you remember when he said that too. As a result of this insistence, billions of dollars more have begun to pour into NATO. In fact, people are shocked, but billions and billions of dollars more are coming in from countries that, in my opinion, would not have been paying so quickly. Oh my God, guys. I gotta stop. It's too much. So that's a big part of the speech. That's not all the speech, but that's what he said about Poland back in 2017, July. A speech in Warsaw commemorating your 80-year anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising in World War II. And at the time, I first came to Poland and started teaching English in 2018, and I started dating this Polish woman. And we started talking about Donald Trump. And she said, oh my God, I got to tell you, he made the best speech a year before you got here. And it was so emotional, Eric. It was about the Warsaw Uprising. I even cried. It was just the best speech ever. And I also remember that first year, I don't speak much Polish, and I was asking for some directions on the street, and lady was talking to me in Polish. I said, "Przepraszam, jestem Amerykaninem, angielski lektor." And right away she said, "Oh, lubię Trump. I love Trump. Lubię Trump. I love Trump." And I was like, because in the back of my mind, I didn't know about all this speech and stuff. Yeah. And then my ex-girlfriend cried at home watching this speech on TV. And I was just thinking, God, if anybody knew what a con man he is, he's such a con artist. Yeah. A con artist is someone that can lie to you and deceive you, yeah, easily. So this is what I'm getting to now. Years later, this 5 years later, February 2022, after he lost re-election of Joe Biden, yeah, he saw on TV about the invasion of Ukraine, your neighbor, right? And this is what he said. Remember what he said back in 2017 about how, Poland has to be defended against Russia, and they're a threat, and Poland has to be protected in NATO. Remember all that stuff he said, yeah? This is what he said February 23rd. That's one day after the invasion, I believe, of Ukraine from Russia. This is what he said, okay? And I quote, "I went in yesterday and there was a television screen. And I said, this is genius. Putin declares a big portion of Ukraine. Putin declares it as independent. Oh, that's wonderful." Putin said in a radio interview with the Clay, Travis, and Buck Sexton show. He used the word independent, and we're gonna go out and we're gonna go in and we're gonna help keep peace. You gotta say that's pretty savvy. So years later, 5 years later to be exact, he totally turned on you guys. Yeah? And guess what? He's running for the White House again. He wants to be American president again. Yeah? To my ex-girlfriend out there, are you still crying now? Or are you crying for a different reason? Yeah? Let alone he was just arrested, not once, not twice, but 3 arrests. And I hear it's going to be 4, and maybe it could be more. Who knows? All those platitudes, we're going to protect you from Russia. So Poland, are you going to invite him here again? Are you going to cry over another emotional speech again? I hope not. Don't invite him here again. Because the only thing he's going to want if he comes back here is money from anybody. He's good at grifting. He's still doing that to Americans right now, making platitude speeches that don't mean anything. Because this is what he really thinks. Because you heard the speech. It's like perfect English. It's well written. And don't tell me he knew your history. He did not know Polish history. A New Yorker who does business and real estate from New York City, and he's going to know about the war in 1920 on the Vistula and all this stuff? Give me a fucking break. He didn't know nothing. He had a White House advisor back then in 2017. Probably search every corner of America to find a Polish American who schooled him on all this and wrote this speech for him. Because God knows, when I read this last part about how he called Putin genius and savvy, this is not the best English. Yeah? Trust me, I'm an English teacher. This is horrible. Yeah, so sorry, I just couldn't take any more reading that speech too. It was too much for me. Yeah, just way too much. And then another note. You had your election here, your last election, Andre Duda, he got reelected, yeah, your current president. Do you remember when he flew out? I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when he flew out to the White House and met with Trump? I wonder what that was all about. Because here is Trump, recently, it was last year in February when the war began. And here he is calling Putin savvy and genius. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Why is he calling Putin savvy and genius? Is it because he's helping him with money? Is he getting money from Putin? And he has to say these things? Because back in 2017, he wasn't saying it. So, makes you think, what was Andre Duda and Trump talking about back in his re-election? In the comments down below, write down what you think. What was Trump and Andre Duda talking about during Duda's re-election when he met privately with Trump in the White House? What do you think it was about? And where was this money from? Yeah? Mr. Vladimir Putin, savvy and genius. Where was that money from? All right, guys, I got to go. That's it for my video here. But truly, if Donald Trump comes back here, make sure he gets a very nasty greeting. Not a friendly one from Poland, a nasty one, yeah? Because the love affair between Poland and Donald Trump is over. All right, like and subscribe. This is Eric, Learn English with the Americans, signing out. Do widzenia. Bye.